Corso and Catone.
Listen, Mark, hold on. When I say, would you have caffeine today?
What the hell is that up here?
Presented by Special Sauce Podcast, Studio 42 Design, and Corso Law Group. Now for the real deal New England feel, Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe is driving the ship, right, Mark?
He's reading a book. He's reading a book over there. He's got things to do.
Well, you better not read a book, and you better start driving that ship because everybody's joining us, and they're joining us on YouTube, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, hey, anywhere you podcast, and check us out on Twitter. And, of course, our heated hotline, 855-313-PATS. Give us a call, 24/7. Have a take, please. Have a take. But they've been great, though, Mark. They really have.
The last few have been fantastic.
I can't pitch it to people. I mean, they've been really good. Joe tells us we have a good one today. So we want to pick yours, 855-313-7287. Hey, got a great one today. For you fans out in the nation, we're going to give you a little tease of the Pats Nation post-game show, the only Patriots post-game show worth watching. Mark and I are going to break down that preseason game on Thursday night, the Pats, Giants, all their post-game breakdown. And, of course, Catone's comments. You don't want to miss that. So stick around for that. And we'll hear from one of you in the nation in Heated Hotline. Gentlemen, how was your week this week?
Good.
Football's back.
Hey.
You can see it back there. You got some games on. Listen, I don't care who's playing right now. I'm
You don't care. You just want to watch football.
I just want to watch football. That's it, So, but good week, John. Good, Mark, you excited?
Good week, yeah, good week. I'm ready to go. I'm glad this football's back.
He doesn't seem very lately. He does seem kind of subdued lately, doesn't he?
It's probably all the work he's got in the yard. Something. It's the summertime.
Listen, it's summertime. You got to be subdued. You can't be, listen, I'm calm in the summer, relaxed, a nice drink in the sun,
Well, listen, let's see how calm he is when we get into this segment. And want to give you that preview of what's to come. The Pats Nation, the only Patriots post-game show worth watching. Mark and I will have all your post-game coverage, 30 minutes following every Patriots game. We want to give you a little bit of that today, and we're going to do that right now. Joe, are we ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Oh, we're in the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone. Welcome for our first little glimpse of this show, of the season. And remember, 30 minutes following every Patriots game, we're going to have it for you. Thursday night, the Giants travel to the Patriots, and Patriots dropped that game 23-21 to the Giants, although the score really doesn't mean much.
The score doesn't make a difference, no.
But what does mean a lot is some of the position battles we saw, even though there weren't a hell of a lot of starters playing, if not any, there's still a lot to look at.
There was. Absolutely there was.
And moving to that, listen, everybody's been talking about the offense, right?
Yeah.
It's been a topic of conversation. What's going to happen? These coaches stink. How can you make two defensive coaches, coach offense, blah, blah, blah. Mark, what did you see on the offensive side that jumped out before we get into the positions?
Couple of things. Couple of things, Chris. Obviously, they didn't play any starters, as you said, but I think it was interesting to watch. I wanted to see the receiver group because you figured Thornton was going to play, Wilkerson was going to play, Trey Nixon was going to play, right? So those were guys I wanted to see in the mix, even though they had backups throwing to them and backups surrounding them on the offensive line. And let me tell you something, Chris. The kid Thornton, I know was not a fan of his when he was drafted. Listen,
I'm starting to come around.
He showed he was involved in some blocking. Belichick, if you, as a receiver with the Patriots, you got to block. There was a few running plays, Chris, early in that game. He was involved in the running game. He held his block. So the rush, I think, was J.J. Taylor, could pick up 4 or 5 yards. He picked up a first down. And that was Taylor's block on the outside that sealed that for him. So I thought that was interesting because he's not a big guy, right? So the fact that he's capable of doing that, I think Belichick has to be impressed with that, right? And then, Chris, a couple of plays that I want to just touch on with him particularly. One, his footwork and his speed off the line. He broke free on one, and Hoyer just underthrew him, right? Hoyer, if Hoyer had the arm, if that was Mac Jones in there, he probably hits him on that pass.
Well, and allowed the safety to get over and break the pass.
He allowed the safety doesn't get over if Mac Jones is there. Thornton beat his man and got free. Okay, and then Chris, the touchdown. It doesn't look impressive. 2-yard touchdown, big deal. But when you actually watch the route and the fact that he had to fight through press coverage and force his way across the back line, so the route itself, he had to show some physicality to run by him and get loose. So I thought that was impressive, Chris.
It's to me, that was the most impressive play from him and to get back to that other play, that getting off the line, and we talked about that. And
I know you were concerned about that.
Because I was concerned about his size, not his length, but his thickness, his weight, size. He's a thin guy. He's going to do really well with a full off season. You'll see that guy come back next year. But I thought he got off the line well. I don't know what he's dealing with on the other side. I don't know what kind of corner they had on the other side of the ball, but it doesn't really make a difference. The bottom line is he took that jab step and he ran that fade down and he just ran. See it twice. He ran away from those corners. I mean, just ran away. You could see the speed. What impressed me though on that play that you're talking about on the back of the end zone, usually from a real lanky kind of long receiver, you don't see that glide. You don't see that scramble drill.
Yep.
When things go off schedule and now the quarterback's moving out of the pocket and everybody's got to, usually the last guy, the deepest guy in the end zone there is the one that has to go across the back line, and so you saw him basically drop his ass, turn and glide across that back end zone. Guys, there are not too many guys that length that can do that. I'm not comparing him to Randy. I'm not saying he's Randy Moss. I'm not saying that, but that's a guy that would do that with ease, and he looked like that. So now I was impressed with him too. But
listen, it was early. It was game one, like you said. We don't know what he was playing against, but I think it was encouraging. I guess is a better word. Maybe it was definitely encouraging to see what we saw out of him. Certainly a hell of a lot more than we ever saw out of Harry.
Well, they had more starters playing than we did.
Yes, they did.
So he only had 2 catches. That doesn't tell the tale of the night for Thornton. I thought he looked really good. That was definitely a bright spot. But Mark, you talk about the position battle, that wide receiver. Let's stay there.
Yep.
Because yes, the top end of that thing, we assume it's Parker, it's Bourne, it's Myers, Thornton.
There was an interesting article this week, Chris. They're going to try to shop Aguilar.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit too. And just taking Aguilar out for 1 second. Thursday night on the field, that battle between Wilkerson
and Nixon
and Hammond now.
Yes. Hammond came out of nowhere. Yeah.
In this, I'm not Hammond. Humphrey makes his statement for all of this too. 6 catches, 62 yards, and a touchdown. So
Humphrey can run back kicks and punts too, Chris. I think.
Yeah, so when you look at this group, just take the Thursday night position battle. Let's assume there's nobody else on the team and it's these 3 guys fighting for one spot. Because that's pretty much what we're talking about if you move Aguilar. Mm-hmm. It's tough, isn't it? I saw some good things out of all 3 of those guys.
I did too, yeah.
What did you see?
And Wilkerson, Chris, always flashes in preseason. But then for whatever reason, he ends up on practice squad. He doesn't necessarily make that cut. And I don't know if it's because he can't give you enough versatility on maybe special teams, which Belichick's a fan of, and that's where Humphrey. Humphrey, right?
Yeah, Humphrey and maybe even Nixon can
give you something more on special teams. They can provide that. So it's definitely going to be interesting. And Nixon showed some flash too.
He
Yes,
had
yes.
he had that bad drop
Drop,
in the
yep.
first quarter, that out pattern that he ran, and the ball went right through his hands. Who, by the way, Hoyer I thought looked good too, but he threw, that ball went through his hands. It would have been a first down, but after that, yeah, I thought he looked great. I mean, he
was
had 4
solid.
catches for 81 yards. He missed 4 off 8 targets. So I don't know how much of that was him, but Wilkerson had 8 catches for 99 yards, and I'm looking down. Every time I look down, you'll see that I'm pulling stats. But
Wilkerson, Chris, has not gotten any. You haven't really heard his name in camp, but yet he catches almost 100 yards worth of balls. So this week, Chris, I think is going to be an important week because Belichick, when they do these joint practices, that's where he really listen, that's where Mac Jones won the job last year, was the joint practice with the Giants. When Cam Newton was on COVID, wasn't vaccinated, whatever went on with him. That was when Jones took control of that battle, right? In the joint practices against the So he puts a lot of stock in these joint practices. So I think it's really going to be interesting to watch what goes on at those practices this week, especially in this position battle.
Yeah. No, I agree. It is. This is the most interesting out of all the offensive battles that are going to go on. It's the most compelling because because of this Aguilar situation.
Well, why don't you set up that, Chris? So what came out this week for those people that are not sure? They're
trying to narrow this thing down. I know they like Nixon, they like Wilkerson.
Yep.
And you're pretty much Parker, Bourne, Myers. I think those guys are solidified as 3.
They've got, and those guys go 4 roster spots.
Right.
That's a guarantee.
And there you go. And Thornton. Now the question becomes, if you're going to carry 6, or you're going to carry 5 receivers. Yeah. If you carry 5 receivers, now you're looking at, what's Ty Montgomery considered? Is he considered a back, or is he considered a wideout? Probably a back.
Montgomery is probably a back. So I'm thinking with the retirement of White, Montgomery could be the last running back they keep.
Right. So now, if you got a 5th and a 6th spot open, perhaps.
Yep.
So then it's going to be Wilkerson or Nixon, in my opinion. I think they can hide Humphrey on.
I was just going to say Humphrey could probably go to the practice squad, right, for a year.
And the way the rule works is if they get through waivers, then you can stash them on the. So, but if Aguilar goes, if they're able to trade Aguilar, which that was the story this week, that they're shopping Aguilar, around the league to see if they can trade him. Now maybe you can keep both of those guys.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't keep, because I don't think Wilkerson, I think he's more of a name. I don't think he survives.
No, I don't think Wilkerson will survive this time, Chris, if they try to practice squad him.
The waiver situation. But Mark, what's the issue with Aguilar? What's the issue? Chris, can they move him?
Well, here's what I was going to say. The only way he's going to move, I think, is if he shows big in the joint practices against the Raiders. Yeah. Maybe McDaniel says, hey, you know what? He looks good. I'm going to give him a shot here. Because I don't think the Raiders the Raiders are really strong top end of their receiver group, but their depth quickly. Once you get below 3, there's really not a lot on that receiver group for the Raiders. I wouldn't be surprised if Aguilar could flash in those joint practices with the Raiders, because I believe they're going to do joint practices with the Raiders, correct?
They are.
I think that's your one shot because of his contract, Chris. I think that's your one shot of possibly somebody saying, hey, you know what? We'll give you like a 5th rounder for him. That's all you're going to get. 4th rounder, 5th rounder. You're not getting anything big for him, but.
Yeah. So the biggest problem is going to be that $9 million.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to take it on. Green Bay may be a team.
And the other thing is he's going to have to flash somewhere, even in something, though. He's going to have to flash. Maybe you try to highlight him in a preseason game, because how are you going to move him? Maybe Green Bay does if he lights somebody up in a preseason game. Maybe Aaron Rodgers says, you know what, I can work with him. Bring him here.
If Aaron Rodgers tells them to do it, they'll do it.
That's what I'm saying. But he's going to have to flash somehow to put himself out there for somebody to see him, right?
So let's see what happens this week with the joint practices with Carolina, how these guys show there. Now, again, no starters pretty much on all of offense, except one projected starter, Cole Strange.
And that was interesting. And what did you think about that he was out there?
I was happy. I was
Okay.
happy to see him out there. I thought he was the one guy. I thought the whole offensive line needed to be out there, to be totally honest with you. But he was the one guy that I needed to have play because he struggled, man. He has struggled in camp. I think more than anyone else. I mean, he's the second worst loss rate on the team with a 2-6-1. So, I mean, he allows more losses than anyone else in camp right now in the offensive line. I thought he looked pretty good, though.
He did.
I
He
thought
did.
looked pretty
And
good.
listen, you know what, too? That old saying, if you don't hear an offensive lineman's name all
good.
night, then he did his
Then he did a
job,
good
right?
job.
Right? And you need so
And he got out in space too, Mark. He
But
got
you're
out in
right, but he
space on a
did do well.
screen and on second level. So he
and
showed that.
that should be
athleticism.
his strength, Chris,
Absolutely.
being able to do that stuff, right?
Yep. And now I can understand now why they didn't play the rest of the line, because they did nothing. They ran nothing of what they're doing in camp. Not one bit of the zone blocking, not one bit of things they were learning.
So that's
None of
interesting.
Shanahan's
So
offense.
that's interesting, isn't it?
None of Shanahan's offense.
So that's interesting. So I'm interested to see what they do this week in the joint practices. And I'm assuming, even though they're having joint practices with the Panthers, I'm assuming you're going to see Mac Jones for a quarter next Friday. No,
He's got to get
assuming-
some play. He's got to get something.
I mean,
You
I know
it's
he's
not
going
like
to get. I know he's going to get playing in the joint practices, but
It's not like he's can take 10 days off like the other dude down in Tampa, and say, I'm going to be gone for 10 days now.
yeah, I wonder what that's about.
That's a story for another day.
Another day, right?
But again,
Yeah.
all in all, though, I don't think the offense looked very bad from what they were doing. But to understand out there, they were running basic stuff. You can't get more basic than what they were doing. But they had some success. They went down the field more than I thought they would, with deeper throws, and they had great success doing it, in my opinion. So the offensive line looked good for that night, for what it was. And I thought Cole Strange showed well. And as far as the backs go, you didn't see a lot. You saw Strong, who I thought had some moments. He had some moments, and he hasn't had much playing time because he came into camp late. He was on the PUP list, right? So yeah. And the other thing too with the backs, with Strong, he showed well in blitz in pickup. And that's important for Belichick, right? He values that greatly. Yeah. But I think you're right. I think Ty Montgomery, everybody's wondering who's going to be that third down guy to catch the passes out of the backfield. And I think it's going to be him. I think it's going to be Montgomery over Taylor. I hate to burst your bubble on that. But listen, Chris, even the other night, and I know they didn't show much on offense, right? But even the other night, you saw glimpses of that elusiveness and his ability to get into some space and have a burst. I understand he may struggle at times picking up blitz, but man, I think he can honestly give you something that you don't have back there. Unless this kid P.S. Strong, you get him in space and maybe the kid's quick and he'll be a good third down back. I don't know, you know? And again, I thought Hoyer played well. Zappy, we're not going to waste any time. We're not going to waste our time with Zappy. Play anyway. So, so all in all, I thought the offense didn't look terrible. I didn't think there was much to, really focus that hard on because they didn't do much. But again, and Mark, we're going to talk about coaching in the last part of this segment a little bit as to what the play calling and everything, what everyone wants to talk about after we get the defense. But keep this in mind. Some of the things they're looking at and running are what Mac Jones did in Bama at Alabama. And so it's curious to me, they're running some of that and they're inserting some of that into this offense now, probably to make him more comfortable, or maybe for something else, maybe for another reason. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. I know we're going to bring up. Yeah. So we'll talk about the future. But Mark, flipping to the other side of the ball. And again, just like offense, I want your observations of what you saw on defense. And I'll tell you, I have it here who was starting and who was for linebackers and D-backs. But go ahead. Well, so Chris, one of the things that I thought was interesting was he played a couple of guys who you think are going to get playing time in the regular season. So I was surprised he had Terrence Mitchell out there, right? Because he's gotten he according to what they've said in camp, he looks like he's going to be one of your corners or one of your top 3 corners, right? And he did get playing time.
And I thought he showed okay. I mean, granted, what was he working against?
Well,
I have no idea.
their starting offense. Daniel Jones was out there, and I don't know how many receivers.
I don't know what they got for receivers,
They had Saquon
I
Barkley
thought,
was out
I
there.
thought Mitchell looked okay.
He did. I mean, they went with Mitchell, Butler, Bledsoe, and Elliott. Okay, that was their starting
Bledsoe
unit.
was getting a lot of play in camp too, and that's the rookie they drafted last year that you and I thought had potential. What was he, like a 6th-round pick?
Yeah, but the thing with the corners, Mark. Okay, and you mentioned Mitchell. Now, to me, Mills is going to be your best.
He's going to be
one.
He's going to be a starter,
which isn't really saying a ton, man.
No, that's scary. That could be scary.
It is, and so Mitchell, Mills is going to be that starter, and I feel like, honestly, by default, it'll be Mitchell on the other side. Yeah. Now, Mills is going to probably be the boundary corner.
The kid from ASU had a lot of reps in that game Friday night too.
He did, and I thought so. The guys that I thought showed well at corner on in that game, I agree with you on Mitchell on some of the stuff. I thought Wade played pretty good in the inside. I thought he showed a little bit, and like you say, Jones out of ASU, I thought he looked okay. I didn't think nobody really lit it up, but I thought they looked all right. I thought I was going to see a lot worse than I saw, and they looked all right. Now they're not doing a ton out there, nothing, but I thought they looked good. The guy that continues to struggle, okay, is Juwan Williams.
He's not. I don't see how. Well, I say that, but I don't see how he makes the team. Yeah. I think you have enough depth there. Not that it's top line depth, but I think you have enough. Let me not even say depth. Let me say bodies. Okay, you have enough bodies there. I think where he probably isn't going to make this team. I'll be very surprised if he's not a cut later in camp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they'll give him every opportunity to stick, but I think when it comes down to final cut day, I will be shocked if he's not on that list.
And I've been on his ass. I mean, everybody knows that. He's the reason why he's one of the reasons I wear the red shirt when they lose. So to me,
what is the red shirt? What is that? Something new? Red shirt today.
Red shirt. Okay, when the Patriots lose a game, this is the shirt you're going to see right here. Okay.
We're going to go with the red shirt now.
We're going with the red shirt because I'm mad. I'm angry. I'm red.
I thought, it's the red shirt. I thought you just were out in the sun all day or something like that. It makes your face.
No,
you look a little tomatoey a little bit over there today.
Because 5 a.m. we're on the field at practice, and then the sun comes out. So
mad.
And what happens when we win? You're going to go back to the blue?
The blue.
All right.
It'll be the same shirt, but in blue. That's how it's going to be out there. So
I
suggest all of you out there call in Heated Hotline. Let me know what color shirt I should be wearing.
Well, I certainly hope we don't see a lot of this red.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Right now.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, but I think you're right. I think about Williams, and it's tough. It sucks for Williams because, in all honesty, he's one guy that can play and understand every single position in the secondary. He just can't get it done, Mark. He can't.
No.
And
but believe me, he's giving him every opportunity.
Right. But from the safety standpoint, I thought Bledsoe made a few plays, but the best guy in the secondary on Thursday was Elliott, the other safety. He played really well.
And where did he come from?
For
our viewers, I don't know. I don't know if he was an undrafted guy. I
think he's I think he's like a third-year player, though.
Really? They must have buried him somewhere because I don't remember him.
But he made a lot of plays. He was always around the ball. I thought. And they dropped him. You see, he was the guy that would drop into that deep.
Yep.
That deep center fielder, like McCourty plays.
Yep. So, and listen, you're gonna need some depth back there because let's face it. I mean, we were lucky last year. McCourty stayed relatively healthy, but at his age, you don't know if he's going to give you 16 games. Right. So you need someone that can play back there. You know what I mean?
And so the corners are going to be an issue. They may be an issue, which means the pass rush needs to be good. Now, there wasn't any starters on the defensive front. Guy didn't play. Barnmore didn't play. Gottschall didn't play. But the guys that did play, I thought showed well, man.
The kid Sam Roberts, I thought really looked really good. Like he was.
I don't know how he doesn't make this team.
Oh, he has. Well, I shouldn't say he has to, but my God, he was disruptive. He caused a couple of holding penalties. He had, what did he have? Like 6 tackles or something. He was all over the place.
He was fantastic. I thought he was great, and so wasn't your guy, Ray.
And he's the undrafted guy that I've been telling you I love. As soon as they signed him as an undrafted free agent, I loved him because he had the ability. He could never stay on the field. Can he stay on the field as a pro? Let's cross our fingers.
But right? he's a guy that I feel should make. He was disruptive. He hit gaps. I mean, they didn't do anything spectacular.
You know what Roberts and the gaps, right? You know what Roberts was able to do, Chris, that I think Belichick likes is he was able to do the 3 and the 5 technique that night. He showed you both, and that's the versatility that Belichick likes to see, right?
Because that's an edge situation.
He likes that.
When you're putting him out in that 5.
Right? He likes that. If you can do that, if you can do both for him, and I think Brian showed a little of that too.
Yeah.
You know.
And but Ray, as far as Ray goes, he gave them a lot of trouble up in the center. He gave them up the middle.
That's why I meant Ray. I said Brian. I meant Ray.
Yeah, he gave them a lot of issues. The Giants, meaning he created a lot of issues. So that's going to be an interesting rest of camp to see who's
both those guys make the team, or because that's a position. If you show in camp you're not making it through waivers, somebody's scooping you up.
Right. Well, it's going to depend on what happens with the edge stuff too, and some of the outside linebackers.
How about Anthony Jennings?
Okay, so when you go to what I saw, okay, and you know the guys that played in the for linebackers, you had Uche, you had Jennings, you had Wilson, and you had Perkins played some, and who was the other guy?
Perkins has been a disappointment, by the way.
Yeah, and he was in this game too. He really was in this game, but so I mean, you're going to see in regular games, you know, you're going to see Bentley. Okay, you're going to see Dietrich. You're going to see the kid.
You're going to see the kid. You're going to see the kid Wilson on the field. Right.
You're going to see Judon. And so, to me, I looked at these linebackers the other night. Okay, and I was very impressed with Jennings. I thought he had a good game. He had 2 tackles. He had a quarterback hit.
They found the position for him on that edge. I think
McMillan. You know. Yeah, McMillan was the other guy that played. He had 2 tackles and a quarterback hit. Nobody really was high on the next guy, I'm going to say, but I thought Wilson played well.
Well, he's the guy from Cleveland, though. He's played well in camp.
He had 5 tackles, a quarterback hit, and he is fast. He brings speed to that line. He doesn't even look like a linebacker. He looks like
you repeat that? He brings what?
Speed and athleticism.
Oh, I know my God.
It's a foreign word. You know, it's a foreign word.
But I don't think I hear you guys ever say speed, unless it's Mark talking about they don't have any.
They don't.
I'm glad you said that, Joe. I thought you were going to get into cars and driving. Speed. I don't want to go down that road.
Please.
No.
Yeah, but no, seriously, Mark. Wilson looked good out there, and he was all over the place. He was sideline to side. He's what we want in that type of backer that's going to play that role.
That's what you wanted them to draft because you said we don't have it. Well, maybe Wilson can be that guy, that bridge guy for you.
Yeah, man. He was flying. He looks like a safety. He doesn't really look like an outside linebacker.
Which is what we need.
Uche and Jennings played well. They provided, and like you didn't have the sacks. They only had 1 sack. But what they did, they were collapsing that pocket all night long. They were getting around the edge all night long. They were pressing those quarterbacks into quicker throws and to do different things and get out of the pocket all night long. And it was good to watch.
And based on what you just said about the corners, that's going to be very important this year to collapse that edge and to get that pressure. Even if you don't get the sack, you're going to have to rush throws because it doesn't appear that our corners are going to be able to hold coverage for very long, right?
Yep. And Perkins, I'm not big on Perkins. I thought he would be something.
I thought he might be something.
He was average. But the guy
when he got drafted, I wasn't crazy about him. I know you liked him. You thought he had ability. I don't think they'll cut him. I'm going to be honest with you because he was hurt last year. He could be one of those guys that he tries to stash away on the practice squad and bury him if he clears waivers, which if he doesn't show anything, he'll probably clear waivers and you give him 1 more year to develop, right?
Yeah. So that front 7 I thought played pretty well. No Judon, but I thought they played well. I thought they applied consistent pressure. I was happy with Uche. I was happy with Jennings. I'm sick of Dietrich Wise. He's going to play. He's going to be on this team. He's defensive end. and he's probably going to start opposite Judon, which I think is a mistake.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake. I think that's a mistake too.
I heard somebody say they think Winovich is a better player than Jennings, and I think
no, I don't
the hell
believe
said
that.
that.
I don't agree. Listen, we saw Winovich Winovich showed nothing last year at all. No. I don't believe in that. But listen, that front seven, maybe there's something to that. Maybe we're not giving enough credit.
No, I think they are going to play well.
Listen, they've been disruptive in camp.
Yep.
So, and we're like, wow, the offense is so damn bad. Well, hey, maybe we're not giving the front seven enough credit either. Maybe they're not as bad as everybody thinks they are.
Yeah.
You know?
So again, we'll keep an eye all through camp. This next week where they're playing Carolina and they're going to be practicing jointly. Pay attention to these guys that we're talking about, these groups. And lastly, for the last few minutes of this, we got to get to the coaching. Because all week long, who's calling the plays? How's this going to work? What's going to be the fun? What's going to be the operation on the sidelines? All in all, Mark, I thought the general operation of the offense in the first quarter, which was where Patricia was calling plays, they did something that was very strange. I thought the operation was pretty good, except for one moment when they had to call a timeout. Patricia was making a face like he made a mistake. Yeah. Other than that, I thought the operation was good. But what do you make of? Patricia was calling plays while Hoyer was out there, I guess basically the first unit for that night. And then for the rest of the time, Joe Judge was calling plays. What do you think about that? That's something I've never seen.
No, and I don't know what that was about. I have no idea what that was about. I still don't know what Belichick's trying to do with those two guys. If you're going to have Patricia call the plays, let him call the plays. If you're going to have Judge call the plays, because I have to believe at some point, Judge is going to have to work with the quarter. If you're in the middle of a game, someone's going to sit next to Mac Jones with the Surface Pro and go through video with him in between when the defense is on the field. Who's doing that? Is Judge doing it? Is he going to be the QB coach? Is he going to be the OC? I don't know. But I don't know what they're going to have to determine some type of roles. Like you said, that was very strange last night how they did that. I don't know. I don't know.
I think it'll be Patricia because I don't think, and again, everything they ran was basic, but I thought the play selection was okay. I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't really have a problem with anything Patricia did. Joe Judge was a mess. That was a frigging mess.
Listen,
if you really look in and watch what was going on there,
Judge
was a mess calling the plays.
Joe Judge can't be the play caller. Joe Judge, I think you can help him work with Mac Jones, the quarter, with a little bit, but I also think that Hoyer is there as the QB coach. I mean, he's not the QB coach, but that's what he's there for, right? Because nobody has more of an understanding of this offense than Hoyer, if it's the same offense that they've been running, right? In the past. I mean,
and again, like I said, Judge was a mess doing it. And Edelman said it in the offseason. Joe Judge can't call plays. The one problem with having Patricia doing this is what looked real confusing out there is at times he was talking to the O-line because he's the O-line coach too. And then he's over there talking to Mac Jones, Hoyer, and nobody's with the offensive line.
That's
the assistant's with the offensive line.
So who's going to go to now? Maybe that's something Belichick will do. Maybe
the assistant line coach should be doing it. But
listen, offer him whatever he wants. Prop him up like Weekend at Bernie's. Bring. Right? You know who I'm going to say. Scott Ecky's going to come back.
Bring him back. But there's some things to work out. Belichick was a little ornery in his post game. If you heard him talking about.
Listen, he couldn't have been happy with what he saw from Judge calling plays either.
No. He said, "Don't worry about it. We'll work that out." He said, and then he really got on Phil Perry when he was asking him. And you can't blame Perry for asking those questions, but he's like, it's an operation, it's a process, and I believe it is a process.
You know what? Absolutely is.
But I think it's going to be Patricia, and then we'll see what happens and how much.
Listen,
Belichick.
Patricia, I believe, is smart. I think Patricia understands the game, knows the game. Can he be a head coach? Absolutely not. But does he know the game and understand the game? Absolutely, he does. You've brought this up in the past. We weren't a fan of the style of defense he played, but they were always a top 10 defense. Always. Yeah. When he was the defensive coordinator, right. I think he has enough of an understanding where he can be the OC. Yeah. But like you said, then what happens with the O-line?
I think O'Brien's coming in. I think O'Brien's coming in next season.
And that's why you brought up some of the Alabama stuff. Yep. Yeah, I believe that could be.
Big week this week. They play Carolina and they joint practice. So these are all things to pay attention to and keep an eye on. So, hey, that preview of the Pats Nation was presented by Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com. When we come back, buckle up. Catone's Comments is next.
Special Sauce Podcast. You like the sauce? The sauce is good, man.
Start off as finance. Train them, trust them, and let them lead.
With your host, Marcus Aurelius. Tune in to Special Sauce Podcast, wherever you podcast. What's your special sauce? Time for Catone's Comments!
So much of the nation has been going through, everybody knows much of the nation has been going through a heat wave, right? It's been hot everywhere you look in the country, right? Pretty much. And it's been hot here too. In the New England area, it's been really hot. It's been in the 90s for X number of days. We've had a heat wave after heat wave here, which is great, right? Get up in the morning. You know what I like to do when I get up in the morning? I want a hot cup of coffee. See this? See this coffee cup? I want it filled with hot coffee. That's what I want when I get up in the morning.
I thought you were going to say you like to go on a jog.
Jog. Would you cut his mic off, please? This is Catone's Comments. Now, when I get up in the morning, that's what I want. A hot cup of coffee. No, see this foolish thing. This worst thing in creation. What are these things? These Keurig cups. These stupid things. Throw these things out. Throw them out. Because they don't get hot. They're lukewarm. You put them in. I was on vacation. They're giving you those in your room. I don't want that. I can pour water out of the sink. It's just as hot. For Christ's sakes. I want the coffee to be like lava. Melting lava. That's how hot I want my coffee in the morning. That's what I like. You go to these places. They don't even know how to make good coffee anymore. They're worried about, I want a fruity latte with a little brown sugar on top and some cream. Jesus Christ. Give me a real cup of hot coffee. Never mind all this fruity tooty stuff and all this garbage. And I'll have some kind of a refresher. That's the new thing, a refresher. A pink refresher. What the hell is a refresher? What I don't even understand what that is. What are you putting deodorant on while you drink it? What is that, a refresher? I don't even know what it is. Maybe I'm getting old. I want a hot cup of coffee, preferably in my mug, my Patriot mug or Yankee mug. That's what I want when I get up in the morning. That's it. I don't care if it's 110 degrees. But the problem is, I've gone through 15 coffee pots because they don't make coffee pots that make the coffee hot anymore because they're worried about these goddamn Keurigs. Forget the Keurigs. Real coffee. I want to go in the backyard like a caveman and build a fire and take one of those old metal pots and stick it on top of the fire like coal miners used to do. That's what I want to do. Grow a beard and sit back there and drink coffee. Hot coffee. That's all I want. That's it.
I'm sorry. I can't help it, Joe. There's so much there. I mean, first of all, what are you like? 87 years old. You need to have everything scalding hot, like you got leather inside on your throat, kid. What's the matter with you?
What?
So you don't like? And Joe, he's using props now.
I had to use the props today. Did you like that? I added a little bit to my Catone's Comments.
He's using props, throwing things all over the place over there. But yeah, hey, listen, Mark. One of the questions I have for you though is, have you ever actually used the coffee maker in the hotel room? Like, in other words, if it wasn't a Keurig thing, would you use it anyway?
No, I wouldn't use it. There are too many germs for me. I don't know what went through that thing. Absolutely not. No,
you couldn't pay me enough money.
No,
use one of those. I don't care what kind of place I'm in. Ritz-Carlton.
No, but
I was with you.
I was with you. You used the Keurig in the room one day. You made coffee. You didn't know where you were, but you used the coffee.
He is as full of crap as you're going to get.
You used the Keurig.
Anyone who knows me knows that I don't touch anything like that. But you know what, Mark? You're right. I don't like What's worse than all of what you're saying, and tell me if you think it is, when they go to like Starbucks and order that stuff you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
Grande macchiato thing.
What the hell is what the hell is that? I don't know what that is.
For like $8.
Yeah. They pay almost as much as you pay for a car wash.
You can get it for free. Just stop it. Just pull into the Hampton Inn. Leave the car running. Go into the lobby. You get free coffee. You don't need to go.
What the hell is wrong with you? You're running into the Hampton Inn to get free coffee.
That's it.
You talk about me.
Coffee used to be free. Now it's $8. Give me that. Give me a coffee regular with a Cruller, and we're good to go. Right, Mark?
Wow. You're going back to the old days of Cruller. They stopped making certain Crullers over here because nobody's buying them. They're not healthy.
This kid threw out a crawler. I had my
Cruller
on mute the whole time. I was going out of control over here. I didn't realize.
I was wondering where Joe was.
Yeah,
I'm like, how can
Joe?
he not be saying anything?
I'm like, I had because I was going all crazy. The Cruller. Mark, I couldn't agree with you more about the Keurig. Those things awful. I had to throw it out.
Throw it out. And Joe, listen, when I got Catone's comments going on, you're going to do your job over there. Mute him. Mute him. Mute him.
It's hard. It's so damn funny. But wait, why do you guys dislike the Keurig so much? I mean, I use that at home.
It's not hot.
No, I know it's not hot, but what I do is I use the stuff. And by the way, I get the Dunkin' Donuts ones.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'll never say Dunkin' ever. I'll never say the word just Dunkin'. That's like, Yeah. So, but once you're done with it, in fact, I got the to-go. I have the to-go cups. I love them with those caps with the little hole there that you could drink so I don't spill it all over myself because I'm such a filthy animal. But why don't you just put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds?
Because
what's the point of that?
What's the point? What is the point?
It's still quicker than making a pot of coffee.
Yeah, but when you put it in the microwave, it changes the taste and texture of the coffee.
Oh, for Christ almighty. You know what? You sound like those people that are ordering that stuff at Starbucks. The taste and texture. You drink coffee for a purpose.
I want it to be like lava.
Well, you're never going to get that even in a coffee pot. No, you know, Mark, the only, and we got to go, we got to get off coffee now, but the only things that can make it real hot are those Farberware silver.
Yes. Yes.
I have one.
I have one of those.
Silver ones.
Absolutely, I do.
They're a nice fire hazard.
I should have brought that down for a prop. I have one.
They're a nice fire hazard, but it's
good. Yeah, right.
It's hot coffee. So good stuff, Mark. I think everybody out there can relate to it. Hey, you know what? Throw us your thoughts on that in Heated Hotline, because everybody's got all different opinions on all these types of coffees nowadays, right? So Catone's comments was presented by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CorsoLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, when we come back, I think you heard enough of us for a minute. We want to hear from one of you in the nation in Heated Hotline, and that's coming up right after this.
It's that time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law Group.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England field. I still can't, Joe. I can't stop laughing about the heat, the scalding, how he needs it scalded. You went from like a young guy. You skipped middle age and just went right to like elderly. You know what I mean? Like you skipped that entire section right there. Throwing
why? Because around. I like a hot cup of coffee.
It's the AARP card. They gave it to him right away.
And we're not downing elderly, older people. No, what anyone that's older is, everybody will become. That's it. That's just life.
I'll tell you one thing about elderly people. My grandma used to make the most scalding hot coffee you could ever imagine. It was like jet fuel.
She did. I remember that.
Right?
Yeah, I remember that. But listen, and my grandmother used to always say, when we teased them, What I am, you shall become. So Mark is already there. So listen, we want to hear from one of you out in the nation in Heated Hotline. Joe, we ready to do that?
Yeah.
All right, let's get it.
Hi, guys. This is Kim from Revere. Now, what? Kevin Durant wants to play with Marcus Smart and the Celtics. He will stay and do anything to get out of Brooklyn. I don't trust him. He'll ruin our team. So what? When he doesn't like something or someone in Boston, or when he calls the entire city racist again, is he going to pull the same shit and ruin our franchise? I think they're good enough to win now, and I say we stay away from this guy. What do you think? Anyway, I listen to you guys every week. I love the show, and I cannot wait for the Pats Nation. Bye.
She doesn't sound like she's from Revere but she sounds like she's from Revere. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With the comments sound like she's from Revere, but
Absolutely.
there's maybe she's a transplant that got,
Who knows?
deep into that. So Kim, thank you for the call. Is she right?
I think you and I both probably agree on some level. Yes, she is right, even though he's a great talent. But you're rolling the dice, right? It's like you're throwing craps in Vegas if you decide to pull the trigger on him, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we talked about this. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
Might have been 2 weeks ago now. Yeah,
because here was my take on this, and it's still the same. There are different facets to this whole thing, and it depends on which thing you're breaking down. There's the Jaylen Brown part of it, okay? There's the Kevin Durant part of it. There's the Marcus Smart part of it. Believe it or not, he enters into this whole thing.
Will Marcus Smart have to go in the deal though to get him?
Well, what's happening now is, and Kim alluded to this, but what Kevin Durant came out and said now is, yeah, Celtics are on my list. I want to play with Marcus Smart.
Interesting. He doesn't want to play with Tatum.
I don't think he cares at all.
No, I don't think he does either.
When the hell did Marcus Smart mean anything to Kevin Durant? He's the defensive player of the year. I get it. Okay. But when the hell, this dude, she's right. He wants out of Brooklyn so bad that he'll say whatever. And so now he's helping out the Celtics a little bit because that was the sticking point, I think, is they don't want to give up Smart. They'd rather give up White.
And I think the other piece of this is this.
So he's helping them to get there.
He is. And I think Durant is smart enough to realize, okay, as he looks around the league, who actually has a chip that is enough that maybe you can entice Brooklyn? It's really only Boston because they've got Jaylen Brown, right? So because they got Jaylen Brown, they've got a chip that is probably big enough if you put a package together with Brown that Brooklyn would say, okay, we'll make the deal. Most of these other teams that say they're interested, they don't have what it takes to put in a package to get Durant. And I think that's why Durant is talking about the Celtics.
So do you think you think that's legit that he wants to play with Smart? I mean, what do you feel Smart's
No, I think he just wants out. I think he just wants out of Brooklyn.
Okay, but do you feel like the Celtics can give up Smart and still be okay? I mean, where does he fit in on all this?
So I think if you had to put Smart in the deal, you'd be okay because you got White and you got to remember something. We brought in Brogdon, right? Yes, you'll have a drop off on defense. Absolutely. If you trade the defensive player of the year, obviously Brogdon and White are not defensive players of the year. However, the combination of the two of them, I believe, give you enough that you could compensate for the loss of Smart. And you got to remember something. The last couple of years, he's gotten lazy. But at one time earlier in his career, Kevin Durant was one of the best defensive players in the league. He really was. He was. That's what I'm saying. Earlier in his career, and that's what I'm saying. The last couple of years, he really hasn't really played defense. He's focusing on just offense and half-assing it on the defensive side of the ball. But if you could ever convince him to commit to defense again, well, shoot. I mean, I think you could be okay. But again, it's as the caller said, is it worth it to put up with his, as Kim says, his shit?
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, but as far as Smart goes, I think it's a bigger loss than people really think it is.
Okay.
I mean, all season long. I mean, we were on Smart when it was time to be on his ass.
Yeah.
But after that new year and when they started on that run, and Smart, I think when it was White that came in and lit a fire on the Smart's ass. But I was all on him. Look, you can't. Everybody discounts that defensive player of the year. That matters. I think it does hurt. Yeah, I'd rather do throw White in there, of course, and Jaylen Brown and all that. So no, I think Smart does make a big difference. A big difference. Although Brogdon can't play defense, he can. He's not a bad defender.
On the back end of this argument, which we're not going to get into again because we got into it a couple of weeks ago, but does Jaylen Brown want to be here long term? So
that I do want to get into that because that's the next facet of this whole thing.
So go ahead, because we did bring this up last time we discussed this. Go ahead.
So that's the next tier. Next tier of this thing is Smart, Brown, and then Durant. So with Jaylen Brown, so you got to look at it two ways. If you're playing for today, are you playing for now? Are you playing for some years? Like Bloom over there trying to always be in that 5-year plan, plan.
Yeah.
But in the Celtics, is he going to stay? I mean, you're going to lose him anywhere in 2 years. Are you going to lose this guy?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're going to lose him in 2 years, listen, you cannot do what they did with Gordon Hayward, right? The guy Fournier, they traded him, but they didn't even use the exemption. Hayward, they basically got nothing in return, right? So you can't fall into one of those situations. Because the closer he gets to the end of his contract, and then you decide to try to move him, now the team that is trying to get him is at the advantage because they got you over a barrel. Hey, take it or leave it. You're going to lose him for nothing. So take what we're giving you because you're not going to get anything when he walks for free. So the longer you wait, if he's going to leave, teams are going to have you by the throat because you don't have a choice.
And are you going to get another guy like Durant to be able to, and to Mark's point, is it going to happen next year? You want to move him next year? Is there ever going to be another guy like Durant that's available to come to you if you move the guy? I agree, Mark. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
So let me ask you this.
This dude is not here in 2 years. He wants to be a one.
What do you think Durant gives you? 3 years?
Well, okay.
Can he give you 3? Like what? How many viable years can Durant keep you as you're the leading contender for a championship because of what you got?
So the last tier of this is the Durant factor, okay? Because all things being equal. So if you're looking at, are we playing for today? Are we playing for 2 years from now when Jaylen Brown, we agree Jaylen Brown's gone. So who makes them better at the moment? How do they win championships right now? And the issue with Durant is it depends on how you look at it. So if all things being equal, both guys playing well, both guys are dedicated, meaning Brown and Durant, both guys playing at the top of their game, it's Durant heads down. Whether it's now or 3 years, 2 years from now, it's Durant. Okay. He's playing much better. I don't know about 2 years from now, maybe Brown, maybe Durant tapers off more.
Yep.
But right now, equal, comparing apples to apples, it's Durant. Durant makes you better. And the question I have for you, Mark, and I've been wanting to ask you this all week long is, about this. If we covered it, I didn't plan on it today, but now that we are, do you look at when you look at Durant? Okay, well, first of all, how do you see him right now? His play? Do you think he's dropped off to a degree where you shouldn't really be looking at him like that?
No, because I think it was just such a clown show in a shit show in Brooklyn that you didn't get out of him what you thought you were going to get, right?
And he gave up.
He gave, I guess you could call it that. Listen, for whatever reason, the coach, the GM, now it's coming out that they dislike these guys. Listen, this league is a crazy league now, but I do think if you got him with Tatum and the rest of that team, you would motivate him for a couple of years to try to win a couple of more championships. I mean, listen, just like we talked about earlier back in June, you had mentioned, you know what? Curry's on the downside. And well, guess what? When it came time to win a ring, he wasn't so much on the downside anymore, was he? All of a sudden, he elevated himself a little bit more than what he had shown because now now it's time for a ring, right?
Okay.
And I think you would see the same out of Durant.
Okay, so we talk about can they win what Kim says. You know, they have they're not good enough to win now. But Mark, you didn't think that, did you? Because to your point, and I've heard anybody say this: if Middleton is playing, do they win?
No.
Do they?
No.
Okay, so then if
But
Durant
they can. But they can with Durant. They can with Durant.
If
Absolutely.
Durant was on this team,
absolutely.
Okay, so therefore, all things comparing apples to apples, Durant makes you better today, and it makes you better probably in 2 years, and it's worth doing rather than losing Brown for nothing. Now, when you get to Durant himself, this is the wild card, right? Because
she brought up the racist stuff, right?
Well, look, we know how he feels about Boston. He didn't mince words.
No,
I mean, he said what he said about who we are, who they are, who.
So how's he all of a sudden coming here?
That's what I'm saying. So when you look at this guy's track record, okay, he's in OKC, okay, Oklahoma City. He didn't do well by that franchise at all. He brought that team down. Then he moves over to the Warriors. He tried to bring that team into the toilet, but they were good enough and smart enough to let him go, to trade him when the time came. He destroyed Brooklyn. Okay, he was a big part in destroying Brooklyn. What's to say he's not looking at Boston saying, I don't care where I go, I want to get out of here, and then I'll deal with where I go next after that. That could be a Kyrie situation, right?
Well, I was just going to say to you, and I'm glad you just brought that up. You must be reading my mind. Is he Kyrie?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know, because if he's not dedicated, if he doesn't buy in and all this other stuff, if he gets a hair across his ass, or he thinks somebody else sitting in the stands is racist, now what? Now you don't have Brown or you don't have Durant. Now you got a real problem. Okay.
Well, no, you absolutely have a real problem, because he listen. What happens if he has a bad night and the fans stop booing him? Now what? Now is he going to say, is he going to say, they dropped this, they dropped the bomb on me, they said this, they said that? I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I mean, because he doesn't like the place. So now what? I don't know.
Again, it's definitely a wild card. If you feel if you think the way Mark,
it's absolutely a wild card.
If you think the way Mark thinks, and you think that they weren't going to get by Milwaukee if Middleton played, then I think you got to roll the dice, right? But do they get past Milwaukee now that they've added Brogdon and Gallinari? I don't know if that's enough.
I don't know. Could be.
With the way you're constructed now.
It could be now. It could be. But again, the thing is Brown's walking. So if Brown walks, you're going to get nothing for him. I don't know. It's a tough situation. But can I just – I know
you want to talk about Bill Russell in a second.
I do, but there's one other thing I want to do real quick, 30 seconds, if I have a chance.
Yeah.
Listen, I know Kevin Durant. We're talking about Kevin Durant, right? And just on the same line as Kevin Durant, Antonio Brown says, my biggest regret in my career doesn't involve calling my GM a cracker or showing up to the Raiders camp late in a hot air balloon with frozen feet or throwing rocks at the UPS driver. And it definitely doesn't involve taking my shirt off and doing a victory lap around Jet Stadium with throwing up double Fs, he says. I wish, my only regret is that I could watch a game and watch myself live and not watch myself afterwards. I can't imagine what it was like to see something like that, like watching the Beatles or Jesus perform at Red Rocks.
Hold on a minute.
Wait a minute.
Did he compare himself to Jesus?
Yes,
and the
he
Beatles
did.
Just now?
Yes, he did. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is that's today's athlete. So is that what you're bringing in with Kevin Durant? And that's the only reason I read this to you, because that's today's. So are you bringing that in with Kevin Durant? That's why I wanted to close with that from Antonio Brown today. We can't even get into what he said. It's so crazy. But
especially in basketball, these guys think they're gods and larger than life.
That's why I read that. So
anyway, listen, Kim, thank you for that call. Heated Hotline was presented by Studio 42 Designs, and I know one thing Mark wanted to talk about, and let's get that done. I knew you wanted to mention Bill Russell's number.
So we talked about him last week. Yeah,
his number was retired throughout the league, so nobody will wear number 6 again. So Mark,
awesome.
That's awesome, right? Nobody will ever wear it again. And we talked about what a legend he actually was, despite what some of these new people, this new generation of basketball player thinks of the older generation.
Yeah,
there'll never be another one like Bill Russell. He was the legend. He never lost a game when it was a deciding game, ever. So
Especially at home.
At home, I don't want to hear any of this other nonsense. LeBron James, this one, that one. Listen, he was the man, number 6, never to be worn again. But the NBA is going to allow players who are currently wearing number 6 to continue to wear that, which I think
like they did with
a couple other guys, which is fine.
Like Mariano Rivera was able to wear
but
42
nobody
like
else
that.
will ever be able to wear it again, and I think that's a great thing.
I do too, and it has a lot more probably to do with off the court
Off
too.
of court,
And what
absolutely.
an
Off the
ambassador
court.
of just human beings he was. So,
Yes.
Mark, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. But gentlemen, so much more to talk about, so little time. So we're at that time. We are out of time. And so, guys, thanks. Another great show, great week. And thank you for joining us in the nation. And listen, this week, get online, take a look, watch our show, listen to our show. They're all up for you to do that. Make sure you subscribe, follow us, give us that thumbs up. And next week, come back, 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. We're going to discuss the next preseason game. The Pats host Carolina. We talked about it a little bit, joint practices. We're going to get a look at the quarterback battle there with Mayfield and Donald. And we're going to be giving you another little preview again of the Pats Nation post-game show, because we're going to break that game down as we record day of the game. We're going to do a little of that in with the Raiders game too. So make sure you tune in every single week. We'll talk a little Yankees, Red Sox too. And whatever you want to bring to the table, we'll be ready for it. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. See you next Saturday.